This is our 20. This is 24, right?
I think so. 24?
24.
Ladies and gentlemen,
non-binary people, welcome to co-host
with Creany and the
Gipper.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Gary?
I'm good. I just stole the shirt off Ricky Gervais. I'm feeling good.
That is a very Ricky Gervais shirt.
Thank you.
Something about a guy that's like always been kind of chubby that just gets like a little bit less chubby and then is super confident about it. I find so charming. I just love that he's like, yeah, used to be pretty fat, now just kind of fat, wearing the V-neck. I think it's great.
His confidence is unwarranted in many ways.
He created The Office. He's great. I love him.
He is. He's a great writer. I think he's a great performer. His stand-up, I think, is always like when he's put next to Chris Rock and Seinfeld, it's like
I think he's I like his stand-up, except for it's not like really stand-up. It's just like a famous guy talking.
Yeah,
I enjoy it, but I'm like, oh, this guy doesn't understand the craft really.
What do you
like
do?
You and I do, Gary. Like you and I understand the craft of stand-up comedy because we've spent years just in the fucking ditches, just getting in the trenches of comedy, fucking figuring out the craft, man. The craft is stand-up comedy.
One time I was talking to Jeff Carlin, that's George Carlin's brother, and he says to me, he really only started with 5 words you can't say. And then I told him to tell you the next 2, make it 7. 7 is a funny number. And he said that makes sense. And that's when I knew that, just because I don't make it, just because I don't have success or money, like I have friends that do.
Yeah,
there's
I was talking to Jeff Birbiglia, who's the 3rd Birbiglia brother that's not involved in comedy, and he was saying to me, I can't introduce you to my brothers.
Joe Birbig's very funny. He could be a stand-up, I will say.
Anyone could. Who couldn't be a stand-up?
Yeah, this is not a precious craft.
Stand-up is like playing the bass. Like anyone can do it. It's just hard to do it well.
And I use a pick.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of music, we have a band leader, sort of.
Yes, we do. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our band leader, Angela Sawyer.
Hi.
Thanks for being here. How's it going, Angela?
It's going very well. I'm ready to play any requests that you have.
Let's see. Can you play Bleecker Street by Simon and Garfunkel?
There you go, jamming it.
I like it better than the original.
What about Angela? Could you give me? I mean, I'm definitely I like my pump up music before a show. I just got Pump Up, and it's not Survivor's first major hit. It's their second. I think it's
Butt of the Tiger.
Butt of the Tiger.
Yeah, I can do that. Butt of the tiger. It's the butt of the tiger. There you go.
Now, Gary, of course, Gary is a 32-year-old man, but has the musical taste of a 56-year-old man. So could you play some anything from the solo catalog of Robbie Robertson from the band?
Oh, that's very difficult. Let me think about it. I think I can.
He did the Irishman soundtrack. Maybe that helps.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing Gary likes. The only
We've been on hiatus, and I think we're stronger than ever right now.
Well, why have we been on hiatus?
I wanted to find myself. I really went on a soul search, a vision quest, Matthew Modine style, 82 vehicle, good soundtrack. I definitely, I got COVID, and Rob and I did 3,569 miles across the U.S. in dumpster hotels and nightmarish gas station rest stops. We did it in very fast fashion. We made it to Jamaica Plain safely. And then almost immediately, I got COVID in Jamaica Plain.
Can you quickly just tell about your car troubles before you left LA?
At the beginning of the pandemic 4 months ago, after I recorded a podcast about positivity with Rob, I found that my car was stolen. 3 weeks before moving, my car was broken into and someone stole my glasses.
And I
Just
don't
these.
know if folks can tell by looking at Gary, but his glasses are useless to anyone else. They're a thing you can put on if you want to immediately have a headache.
You remember in Home Alone when he has the magnifying glass and his mouth gets really big? That was a tough break.
The second time your car got broken into, you kind of got into a fight with the woman you were saying, right?
Oh yeah, it wasn't a kind of fight. It was late at night. It was the day of the second car situation. I just had like a Chevy Chase Christmas Vacation moment. I was like slamming my door. I was opening and slamming my door for 5 minutes and it felt good just to get out. That night, the woman I was seeing was like, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm just tired." "Can't believe your car got broken into twice. And just 3 days ago, I left my wallet on the street in front of your house and found it the next morning with everything inside it. Isn't that weird?" "Yeah." "Are you mad?" I said, "No, I'm just tired. I want to go to bed." "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah." And then 5 minutes went by and she went, "Are you mad?" And then I yelled, laying down. A fight laying down is pathetic. It was a lot of, "Do not bring this up anymore."
Me flying to LA, where at the time 1 in 8 people had COVID, now 1 in 3.
Over 2 weeks, when Rob got there, in the 2 weeks that Rob was here after getting on a plane, it went from 1 in 8 to 1 in 5 to 1 in 3 people having COVID-19.
Then we drove across the southern United States where people don't believe that COVID exists. We were at a hotel in Elk City, Oklahoma, where there was a restaurant in the hotel that was packed, probably 50 people, 3 people working there, only 2 people were wearing masks. So,
and they were wearing them wrong. They had them like that. They were just above their head. Just on their chin.
Gas stations where there's 2 people working inside the gas station, neither wearing masks. We drove that together. I didn't get COVID. Gary did. That's got to be the medical equivalent of him getting his car broken into. Well, my wallet is safe on the street.
Yeah. It's called pulling a Gary. You can put 2 rats in the same maze and one makes it out fine and the other one kills himself somehow.
There used to be a newspaper called the Boston Phoenix, and every year they would do a best of Boston, and one of the categories was comedian. And Gary had been nominated a bunch of years. I think like Bethany won, Bethany Van Delft, Ron Price, I think one year.
Jimmy Tingle.
But after being nominated for a few years and not getting it, there was a year where it was like, pretty much we all agreed this was Gary's year to win it. Tons of people were promoting it. Gary has deserved this. It's overdue. This is Gary's year. And then 3 days before the contest ended, the Boston Phoenix closed forever. Never released their result. This is Gary's luck.
I called the Phoenix. "Do you guys know who won for the stand-up?" There was just a long pause of, I have to pack up my whole career.
Yeah. Found the packing tape, put on boxes and back.
See typewriters throwing into dumpsters.
So while we were on this trip, Heather Merriman, who I date, called and she was freaking out because she had done some mushrooms and gone on a walk in the Arnold. Allegedly.
The walk bar?
She went on a walk. She took with her passport, which is her only form of identification because she just has, her license expired like a year ago and she never got it renewed. And then she lost her passport. So while we are on the road, Gary calls and finds her passport and gets it back to her. It's just amazing. He's a superhero. Gary within like a half hour solved the problem. Amazing. Heather got her passport back. Now, Gary, what's up with your passport?
I lost it. And here's how it happened. At one of the hotels where the likelihood that the door was going to be kicked in because most of the doors had broken hinges, I locked up my passport to be safe, just in case someone kicked in the door, killed me and Rob. They can't steal my identity. So,
all right, the hinges weren't broken. What was broken was the lock, the chain lock, basically. That part was broken at every single of the first few hotels we went to. And every hotel we got to, Gary would say, "Do they have a safe?" And I would say, "Why do you want a safe?" "No, be safe, man. I just want to be safe." And I said, "Don't you think a safe is for like if you are gonna leave something in your room?" And because we weren't going out in Elk City, we were staying in the room. I was like, "I don't think you need a safe because we'll be in the room the whole time." "No, they have a safe. Use safe. Be safe. Safe." At one of the hotels, they did have a safe. Gary put his passport in there for safekeeping, and then well, you explain the rest, Gary, I guess.
And then we drove away from it about 2,000 miles. I called every hotel that we stayed in, so it could only be one. Roanoke, Virginia, Best Western. I talked to the woman yesterday. "Let me look in the room and I'll look up your reservation and I'll call you right back." And then she calls me back. "Okay, there's somebody in the room and we can't go in there. So let's hope they don't notice your passport in the safe. And then Monday, we're going to have you call back and we're going to go in the room and see if it's in there."
Now, that was the best hotel we stayed at, I recall, because we were talking to the guy at the desk, and Gary was very exhausted. We come from California, we stay in a lot of hotels, and this is by far the best hotel we stayed at. And then I said, "But least Western." So,
Listen, his podcasts out there now, Worst Hour of the Week, as well as his new podcast, Fat Jocks, with some fat kid named Bruce. Please welcome Brian Vokey, everybody.
Rob, you are a good-looking man.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. It's lighting. It's all the lighting.
You look like how Frasier should have looked. You know what I mean? Like kind of look like an off-Broadway Frasier.
Yeah, I'm like Frasier at the end of Cheers when he had the beard.
You look like Frasier if you knew exactly what to do with scrambled eggs.
Do I look like Goldberg if he went more of a scholarship route?
Oh, the wrestler.
The wrestler.
You look a little more like Goldmember.
Rob and I were
too. I didn't know if this was a ringer or not.
We share a bond now. We are COVID survivors.
Mm-hmm. I actually just left Dodger Stadium. I don't know if you heard they shut down Dodger Stadium. The anti-vaxxers did.
Yes.
Nobody's allowed to give vaccines. And now that I'm safe, I figured that sounds like a fun party. The front line called them all lambs to the slaughter.
Did you get a vaccine, or are you just safe because you've already had it?
Yeah, I got vaccine God's way.
Yeah.
Seems like from your text that you were experiencing more symptoms, but you are a little more psychosomatically inclined.
I'm unlucky. This is the thing. I don't know if you experienced this, Brian, but this was my experience. I had I had everything you could think of. I lost my taste, my smell, my appetite. I was sleeping like 20 hours a day, had no energy.
That is generally how you are every day.
I eat a lot of buffalo wings. Helps me relax. But I had a 102 temperature for like 4 or 5 days. I should have gone to the hospital, but I went to a Comfort Inn in Rockland, Massachusetts instead, because that's cheaper. This was the most annoying part of COVID. I had concerned friends, which was not annoying, but they would say, "Sucks that you got COVID. What are your symptoms?" That really, it kind of annoys. Like all of them. I have all the symptoms. Like they're gonna re-diagnose me. Like, "Are you sure it's not like you got a sniffly nosy?"
Yeah, well, people just want to hear that it's not scary. You know what I mean? I think people are really relieved because my experience with it was a breeze. I mean, I had some tight lungs for a few days, and I was tired for a few days, and that was about it. When you tell them that you've got fever and you can't sleep and your lungs hurt, you can't taste anything, they're like, yikes. But I'm a ray of sunshine. When they text me and they say, "How is it?" and I say, "It's nothing."
You did post, "I'm gonna be done kicking this disease's ass in about 2 days."
Which I think is like, if you're a comedian, that's so funny to do, because then if you die, that's hilarious.
Honestly, you got to love your last post. You know what I mean? You got to post like everyone's your last one. Because I believe the late, great Patrice O'Neill's last one was like a review of some Chinese food he ate on Twitter.
Oh.
It was was like, man, that's a bummer. Yeah, exactly.
This is a happy accident. You said the word review. I recommend Brian's podcasts. He has many of them. They're all wonderful and lovely. Late last night, I woke up after an hour of sleep and just was up. Post-COVID shit. I just can't sleep normally anymore. Mm-hmm. So I wrote a review for Brian's podcast that I think is pretty good. I just want everybody to appreciate it. It's a 5-star review for your show about sports called Fat Jocks with Bruce Gray. The title of the review is There Goes the Neighborhood. Let me start by saying that I like 2 things. 1, babies with sunglasses. Mm-hmm. 2, the end of the Vietnam War. When I found this PCast, I had no job, no friends, and I was about to be sent to juvenile hall for a crime I did commit. Suddenly, drunk on gushers, the heavenly spirit opened, fell unto thee, Fat Jocks be thy name. This wacky pod allowed me to save my marriage, find my estranged daughters, and retire from stealing high-priced art.
In the beginning of the review, you had no job, no friends, but you were married?
Yes.
I'm finding some inconsistencies in this review, but keep going.
As a poor dog farmer's son, I was raised with values, and these 2 men have no value whatsoever. That's the type of refreshing POV we need. 5 stars. It's pretty good.
A message popped up in the chat that was funny that said there's no such thing as low-priced art. But I consider everything I've ever created in my life low-priced art.
Can I read a quick review of Gary's podcast?
Is that this one? Yours too?
No, I mean, we wish this was a podcast. We can't get our shit together to make
it. We will this week.
We will. We're working on it. Death by Comedy with Chris Walsh. And the review is, the title is Picks. It's a 5-star review. It says, great podcast. This Gary guy sounds sexy. I hope he isn't violently bald.
I'll take sexy. That's all I heard.
Dude, I outed myself as taking hair loss medication on accident in front of my family. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm from New England. So you can imagine the beating that has not stopped since outing myself for that via text message and everything.
What did you say?
My dad said something about like me looking like I had more hair than last year. And I could have just been like, I wore hats less this year or something, something genius. Instead, I was like, yeah, I'm on hair loss medication. And and the amount of like, can't get it up texts that I'm getting from my father.
Yeah, I should do the hair.
You have such a great head of hair. What do you need?
Thinning out at the front here. Maybe I could get.
That's the way you're parting it. You look like Karl Marx. It's gorgeous. Oh no, wait, Karl Marx was bald. Never mind.
Cliff Marx.
Yeah, that's right.
Harpo. Yeah, I'm
Brian.
halfway between Groucho and Harpo, I think.
Carpo.
Which Sex in the City are you? Which Marx brother are you?
The way it's combed is a little bit more like Groucho, but like Harpo, I'm a blonde.
Right. What color was your hair? Were you a blonde back in the day?
No, I had brown hair. Now it's
Did
now
you
it's
ever bleach it though?
It's just from the sun. It gets bleached out. It's
okay.
Platinum blonde from the sun.
Yeah, just from 37 what years of sun.
Yeah, I've been outside so much this year.
Brian,
yes,
we need to get our shit together with a podcast. We have you on the show for a second. Can we spitball a few of our pod names that we're thinking of? Co-host to co-host companion podcast. Can we throw those at you?
Sure. Is co-host to co-host like a coast to coast type thing?
Yep, that's this show, Coast to Coast with Creany and the Gipper. And then we want to do the audio podcast. And anybody here that has any ideas, feel free to chime in. I was thinking of King Shit of Fuck Mountain.
Yep. Mr. Chow.
Bald and Gray with Rob and Gary.
That's on the nose.
Men of a Certain Height.
Uh-huh. So far, I like Bald and Gray. It sounds like Spalding Gray.
We're very much like Spalding Gray, where we just keep talking, and it's like kind of interesting and almost funny.
And one of us will be dead off a ferry someday.
Oh, for sure. 5 Dimples, I like that.
Mhm.
From Angela Sawyer. That's a good title.
4 blonde nuns.
Nuns.
4 blonde nuns. Yeah.
Repeatedly Creany, and then like.
Our Halloween episode this last year was called A Very Scary Halloween.
Perfect. Why
Inspired.
not a very Gary Halloween?
Scary with it. It's
That-
SGARY.
Oh, gotcha.
Gary.
Scary.
Gary. I stayed in your house one time, Rob, and there were flyers of old friends of mine, old punk friends of mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there were. And old bands that I used to play with and tour. And it was like, we come from pretty much the exact same world. Are you
Yeah.
familiar with like Jeff Poot and yeah. I loved Boston back in the day. It was the only punks in America with a sense of humor.
Jeff is having a rough time. He had like a brain injury.
Last week was rough, but I'm doing all right now.
I know music too.
He knows all about Robbie Robertson.
Yeah.
Steven
Bobby
Tyler,
Bobbyson
Joey
and
Kramer,
Stevie Stevenson and
Joe Perry,
Crosby, Stills, Nash.
and
Yeah.
Young.
Oh, and Young.
I prefer Steven Still solo, honestly. Gary and I once had a movie theater all to ourselves while we watched a band documentary.
During the very last week, a theater could be open safely.
Is that true?
I think it was. We were both in there, and the staff, like, we walked in, and the staff was like, "All right."
I've seen a lot of music documentaries with Gary. One time he was like, "Hey, do you want to go see the new Three Stooges documentary?" And I was like, "Oh, I haven't heard about it, but sure." But then it was about the band The Stooges.
It's great.
Still a lot of like rolling on the floor and bottles being broken.
Very similar. I mean, in so many ways.
Rob did ruin a musical documentary moment. The Lanois album tour that I formerly spoke about seeing Neil Young on at the Wang Center, he did a documentary on because it was the year after he thought he was going to die of terminal cancer. And then he comes back with this fantastic album.
There's a song that ends with him going, "My lovely wife, my wife, my wife." And I just lean over to Gary and I say, "Borat." It's a beautiful moment in the movie, and I just ruined it.
Neil Young has put out some of the most disgusting music documentaries I've ever seen. I went to one years ago, my girlfriend, for my birthday, which my birthday is also the same day my mother died. And so it was always like not the best day for a while. Now it's fine, but it was rough for a minute there, to quote Rodney Dangerfield, to summarize Rodney Dangerfield. But she on a recent
That one birthday, she died.
one birthday fairly close to my mother's death. I usually didn't hang out, but a girlfriend could told me to get out and live a little, whatever. So she took me to the Castro Theater in San Francisco. She took me to see a double feature. One was Beasts of the Southern Wild, which is a movie about a girl losing her father in a hospital. Yeah. And that one was pretty rough. I was biting a hole in my tongue, trying not to bawl at the Castro. And then the second movie was a Neil Young documentary where he put a camera on the end of his microphone. So the entire movie is him on stage, and it looks like him just kind of like he's stuck in your dick, like right into the camera. And it's got a perfect in but down, so you can see his like neck hanging. It was a horror show. It was one of the worst birthdays of my life.
I love Neil Young POV porn. That is my
Yeah, it's called Neil Barely Legal.
Gary's favorite porn category is RRBB, Robbie Robertson, but beautiful.
Robbie Robertson's a great guy.
He used to hang out at like First Nation reservations in Canada, and so he's one of those dudes who's convinced he's like a Native American or a Native Canadian, whatever I don't know what they do up there.
Yeah. You could say indigenous person.
Yeah, Robbie thinks he's an indigenous person.
Probably is.
But also he thinks he's Southern somehow. He's confused.
Who cares where your lineage is from? It doesn't matter.
I think he thinks like he's like magical or something.
I mean, he wrote "Hey Babalu" at 15. That's pretty magical.
And then he did the soundtrack to The Irishman, which is, I mean,
yeah,
a movie that's too long.
They cut the track where he sings. It's awful.
Time for it. They were like, we don't have time for this song, even though we have time for everything else.
Colin Quinn had the best tweet about that movie. And he's like, I think it was better than Goodfellas and Casino because those movies left out all the juicy parts, like checking into hotels and driving.
I know you do have to go prep for capital resurgence or something, whatever you're doing.
We want to start a podcast, Bald and Gray, with Rob and Gary. But you have a podcast. Can you tell us some advice of how you would, if for someone trying to start a new podcast?
No. I mean, if you want to pay, it took me 6 years to gather all this information on how to fail at something.
We'll say I just think right now there's just not enough podcasts.
There really isn't.
This last year, not enough comics have started new podcasts, especially at a time where so many more people are working from home, no longer commuting, so no longer have a need for podcasts. I think it's the perfect time for us to throw our hats in the podcast ring.
You know, the failing businesses are having their golden days right now with you look at GameStop. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can get people to buy stock in the Gipper.
Listen, my favorite podcasts are where people are like, we're going to watch an entire show. It's just like they just try to put their depression into a microphone. They're like, we're going to watch all of Designing Women. We're going to break down every single episode and force you to binge watch with me. But the only popular podcasts in LA right now are just people who've been on Rogan interviewing each other. That's like all it is. It's like two people who were on Rogan once talking to each other, and 400,000 downloads and $2 million later.
The experience.
I love how he's forced all these people to get into MMA. It's like when you're trying to relate to your father.
Yeah.
I want to see Joey Diaz fight Conor McGregor.
Yeah. Gary's just a very traditional person. He actually doesn't think that martial arts should mix. So,
hey, keep them pure. Brian Vokey. One time for Brian.
Thank you,
That's
everybody.
Thank you for joining us, Brian.
I'll talk to you guys later.
Check out Brian's podcast, Worst Hour of the Week, as well as Fat Jocks. We want to check in with our band leader.
I'm great.
is that a duck call?
I think that one might be a boar, like a wild boar.
Wow.
We're going to bring up Carrie Coughlin in a second. Is there something that comes to mind that musically, when we say Carrie Coughlin, I don't know if there's sort of an Irish connection or Welsh or...
I don't know what this one's called, but it has a wolf on it, so it'll do.
Carrie Coughlin, ladies and gentlemen. Carrie Coughlin.
That really spoke to me. I was going to request Careless Whisper, but I think that about sums it up.
That was a very caring whisper right there.
So you guys talking about your podcast name. I want to start, not a podcast because I'm a woman. I want to start some sort of show with my friend Jacqueline Wall, and we were pitching ideas to each other, and I came up with Cough the Walls, which seemed insensitive for COVID, but now I'm thinking, why not? People will be fearless.
Our friends Tiny and our friends Jack Hall have the podcast Tiny Hall.
Yeah.
Carrie Walls.
We were talking about trolling them because they are very funny, and we have agreed that Tiny's probably going to see this somehow, but I would like to adopt him as my uncle, and Jack is my older brother, and I'm building a small comedy family in my head that none of them are aware of, but they are now.
Tiny will maybe see it before his timely death.
Hey now.
You're a hilarious comedian. You started kind of right before the pandemic, and what's better, being new in person or new at home online?
I kind of like being new online because when I was new in person, there were several comedians who were very popular and just as into ketamine as they were popular. And they
Dan Crohn will be on later. But
yeah.
That was
Don't
back
mean
in
to call
college.
you out. No.
I only did special K in college.
I like not having that energy around. Even though I befriended them, I like to befriend whatever is scary, which is why I'm friends with Gary, actually. That's why we're the best of pals.
The advice that Dan Crohn gave me about ketamine, he was like, don't make it a regular K. Make it a special K.
It was the 90s.
I don't think people use K-hole enough as a phrase. Like that. We're all talking about ketamine. We're not talking about that focus. I took one drugs class, and I think I'm the utmost authority on these things now.
a drugs class? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
So we did every drug. We studied the effects and lingo of every drug, and it was like a very middle school health teacher, basically, who taught the class, even though we were very much in college. I have actually conflated this woman with my middle school health teacher in my memory. I could not tell you what this woman looked like anymore because they were identical to Mrs. Shepherd Gay, who was the name of my middle school. health teacher, which I think is a hilarious name. Maybe nobody else is still 12 on the inside.
Rob went to school before health classes were more modernized. So Rob, can you explain what an iron lung is?
Yeah, basically it helps you breathe when you have tuberculosis. But I went to Catholic school, so we didn't have like health class. We had religion. So it was just like, you have sex, you go to hell. That was all we got. But then I went to public high school, and I didn't have health class because they did that in middle school. I was so far behind when I went to public school because they just spent a lot of time teaching you religion at Catholic school. Freshman year, I was in just a regular science course, and I did so poorly that the next year I was in the juvenile delinquents science class, which was just like a health class. Because it was like for kids that were so dumb, they were just like, let's just see if we can keep them from getting pregnant and overdosing. And I excelled. I aced that class. And so then my junior year, I was back in a regular science class, but it was a sophomore science class. So I am dumb.
I understand you're into Irish step.
I think it's compulsory for every woman who lives in Massachusetts to Irish step dance before they reach a certain age, so you can really give yourself to the Lord. We like to listen to Brian O'Donovan, who's a radio personality. Nobody actually likes to listen to Irish music, I don't think. My sister, I found out, does every weekend, and so earlier today, she was sincerely listening to Irish step dance music, and we were talking about dance. It is supposed to be an expression of joy most of the time, but the whole thing with Irish step dance is just being rigid. You're not supposed to show any emotion. Stiff as everything's still.
I've often said this in other types of Christianity, the singing is an expression of God's love, but in Catholicism, the music is penance, punishment for sins, and that's the same thing with Irish step dancing.
I love how Irish step dancing really is just an expression of your total chastity, like by having your entire upper body be like stock still and then your legs just be moving all the time incredibly unnaturally. It just feels like a symbolic giant WrestleMania sized chastity belt being like, this is for Jesus. Like property of the Holy Ghost. I just think my culture is beautiful.
There goes Rob. Look at him. There he goes.
Yes. Those arms though, loose.
Tighten it up.
That was a beautiful Billy Elliot moment. I felt just as emotional as during that play/movie film. Okay, no, nobody loves that movie as much as I do. Okay,
Never seen it.
What?
I know there was controversy because she didn't know who Van Halen was, but that's all I know about. That's Billie Eilish. It's a different person.
Rob Crean from Half Court kills the mascot. I used to dance jazz tap.
I can see it in your V-neck.
Thank you. You should see my caprese movement pants. But I felt the rhythm escape me. Before we bring up our headliner, are you gonna hang out with us?
Yeah, I'm going to, because Dan Crohn is, even though he almost dissuaded me from my own comedy career.
Can you explain?
That never happened.
Dan, would I be so specific as to choose the one restaurant? Never mind. I should not be roasting a person I'm a fan of. I'm going to turn this beat around, Gloria Estefan. Dan Crohn's great. Okay. You were a great salesman that day because you first roasted me and then you said, I'm offering a comedy class.
So this is at a Monday night show in South Boston?
Yeah, I was doing like a very typical corporate thing where I had told a couple of my buddies, oh, I think I'm funny. I think I want to try comedy. They were like, yes, so supportive. So we were going to open mics, and this was probably the second one I had ever gone to just watch and scout out because I didn't know how they worked yet. I watched a bunch of comedians. I thought Dan Crohn was hilarious.
Stop there.
Everybody
End of story.
The whole set was him telling everybody how stupid they were.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, that is a description of the clientele.
So then I went up to him after because there were some very funny jokes, I thought. It was a quiet room. And then he was, never mind. He murdered my family, and that's where we're going to end the story. No, I'm just kidding. I can see your face falling because like now I know Dan Crohn's a nice guy, and I can't actually tell the story for truth because I think he was just trying to be.
I've always been a nice guy.
I think I was also intimidated because you're like almost 7 feet tall.
This is true.
You described yourself as stupid tall, right?
Dumb tall, stupid tall, waste of everybody's time.
I was described by an ex-girlfriend as being too small to love.
Oh. I've gotten the opposite, too big to love.
Really?
And I've gotten just right.
With 3 pairs of comedy.
Carrie Coughlin, hilarious. Check out her career. We've already just been talking to our final guest. Let's play him on.
Yeah.
What bird is that?
It's Dan.
Oh my God, there's a goose in here. Or a geese.
Goose.
Goose.
That one's just called a honker.
Yes. I got one of those.
Dan's got great features. Let's go over them one by one.
Whoa. Oh, now we're talking.
Vibe or slip.
Get this off the stand and get close. There we go.
To relate to Carrie's point, when you started in Boston comedy, you met people. Are there any other people that you've met and it hasn't gone quite the way you planned?
I used to do the door at the Comedy Vault. This is long ago. Doing the door was a rite of passage, basically working for free, setting up the chairs, taking tickets so you could do 5 minutes. Boston comedian Don Gavin came down. The headliner was already up. Tony Moschetto, very funny comic.
Oh, yeah.
Don goes, I'm going to go next. And I was like, oh, sorry, the headliner's already on. He goes, I'm the headliner. And he wasn't. But I put him on, and he was, thanks, Rob, sorry. I'm a big mess. I was trying to do something. Okay, for a little secret, Rob was just telling me that landscape mode doesn't really work.
Portrait doesn't work. You were in portrait. Landscape is better. It'll look better.
Oh, now I'm in landscape.
Yeah, you're
My
good.
landscape of Somerville. Sorry.
I thought he was talking about your general look that you do landscaping.
I'll tell you what, when this pandemic's over, I might have to.
What are we going to do?
Oh, yeah.
It seems like it's coming back. We're in
I'm
trouble.
selling my COVID blood.
Can you landscape on Zoom? Yes, I was trying to make Gary spit take. Zoom spit takes are very rare.
It's just such a high risk because you can ruin your computer.
Oh, anyway, so long story short is I didn't know who Don Gavin was, and basically he did 45 minutes unpaid, drunk as hell after the headliner, and I felt like an idiot.
How was he?
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
You have one of the greatest moments of a witness of a guest drop in who is one of the people on the sign.
Oh, Stephen Wright. That didn't happen to me. I don't know where. That happened to somebody else, and I was there that night, but I wasn't doing the door that night.
Okay. Then I will not address this story.
It's funny. There's a lot of times you're there for something, and then people are like, "You were the guy," and I was like, "No, I was there."
I just want to just take a moment to just talk about that, the intro to that story. Gary was like, "You have the person were the witness of a thing where there was a sign, and then there was a person, and it was Stephen Wright." And then you were like, "Oh, I wasn't there." It was such a long intro for nothing.
But I think the story was that I didn't let him on because I didn't know who he was, and I definitely knew.
No, that's not the story. I heard Kathy, Dick's wife. He came in. Stephen Wright said, "There's a comedy show. Can I go on?" She goes, "Well, we have a Sunday open mic, and if you want to come back, it's 2-person." And he goes, "Okay," and just left. And then someone, I thought it was you, yelled at her like, "He's one of the beans," because on the sign
I think we were all yelling at her.
Just a Stephen Wright bean.
One time when I met Stephen Wright, Don Gavin actually introduced me to him, and he goes, "Dan, this is Stephen. Don't touch him." I go, "Oh my God, Stephen Wright." I go, "You're like one of my inspirations. I used to listen to like you on my tapes in Hebrew school." And Don Gavin goes, "I never went to Hebrew school."
That's so funny.
So quick.
Yeah, Stephen Wright's records are he only has the 2 records, right? But they're both great.
What's going on in the chat, Rob?
Oh, I have a Stephen Wright thing I want to show you guys after the show.
Okay. I can't, when people like do the chat at the same time, I get all like nervous. I'm always like, what, should I be paying attention to 2 things at once? I can't.
Yeah.
Because I'm also watching the Celtics game.
Yes.
Nice.
Sorry, I apologize. My love is
Who's winning? Give us a basketball play update.
We've got a McDonald's commercial going on right now.
How would you describe your emotional experience of enjoyment with this McDonald's commercial.
Oh, I thought you were going to say sports in general.
No, the McDonald's commercial. And if you could please with
I watch my sports on an app sometimes because I steal it from my friends. And a very funny comic, Dave McDonough, was over. And if you watch an app, the same commercial will play every time. Yeah. So Burger King was every time. And Dave didn't realize it, but suddenly he just goes, "Hey, you want to go to Burger King right now?" And I go, "Dude, what?" And he's like, "I don't know what. Why did I say that?" I was like, "Oh, I know why. Because they show it every time." And he had no idea like that. That's what was happening.
I used to work with this kid. One day I came into work and he was reading the Communist Manifesto in the back room. I just kind of made note of it. And then like a couple minutes later, he like just quit. Like, wow, that'll do it fast.
I opened for John Lovitz at the Wilbur, and like an idiot, I mean, I'm an idiot. The first time I was ever at the Wilbur,
Hang on.
Oh, yeah, you're freezing up.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Wait, I am?
Yeah, but you're back now. All right, first
I don't
time.
think that's ever happened live. Is it completely frozen?
No, now you're good.
Interesting.
Start talking, and if you freeze again, we'll all just freeze on your screen.
So, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. That sucks. I don't like being unprofessional and freezing.
As the Celtics glare on your face.
It's a State Farm commercial. Okay, so anyway, John Lovitz, I opened for him, and the night they booked me for the opening act at the Wilbur, you think I would take it seriously, but I doubled at Motley's Comedy Club. And I left Lovitz on stage. He kicked it back to me, and I wasn't there.
Oh,
great.
So the next night, I opened for him at the Hookie Lounge in Chicopee, and we ate sushi together, and it was lovely.
I'm glad that he wasn't upset, and he wasn't like, "You think I'm shit."
You think I'm shit?
But he didn't care. He goes, "What kind of sushi should we get?" I go, "I don't know. I like Philadelphia roll." He goes, "What's in that?" I said, "It's a cream cheese lock. It's a salmon cucumber." He goes, "What are you, a Jew?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Me too."
Because I'm champagne.
And then we watched girls softball on the TV.
And your shit.
You didn't like put that on. It just was playing there, right?
No, he put that on. It was a little suspect.
I want to watch him.
And he wore the same outfit both nights without a bag. He didn't bring a bag with him.
Interesting.
Yeah, in from LA, 2 shows, back, 1 outfit, done.
Was this before he beat up Andy Dick?
No, this is after. And I was dying to know that story. Right, beating up Andy Dick because Andy Dick was responsible for getting Phil Hartman's wife back on drugs, causing the murder-suicide.
Michael Richards' meltdown happened. And if I'm correct, the Laugh Factory was like, we've got to get somebody to really bring us back into good graces with the public. Let's get John Lovitz to host every Wednesday. And I think it had like 3 Wednesdays before he beat Andy Dick half to death.
Wow. He went to jail for that, too.
Did he go to jail for
I think for the night. John Lovitz is like as starstruck as I've ever gotten, which is weird because I've definitely opened for like better comedians. But like seeing him, I was like, okay, you are him. This is the guy Lovitz that I know about. And then also they screwed up his piano. He had a piano on stage, but it didn't have the right keys, or it didn't have enough keys, and he was like, "It's in my rider." Which is pretty funny.
I'm very confused. Did he need an organ?
What is it? An 88 keys versus?
Let's go to the band leader.
Maybe he wanted a Bosendorfer. They have extra keys.
He probably just wanted like a full 88 key piano, and they had like a keyboard that had like
like a Casio.
That's my guess. I don't know.
Did you guys have one of those little Casios back in the day?
Do I still? Yes.
Wait, does it have the feature that you could talk into it and it would be like?
You glitched. Perfect timing.
Oh,
do you know
you
that?
Just talk at it and it does that.
Oh, I had one of those. I would kill for that again. I got that for like Hanukkah one year because you would be like, Dan Crohn.
Or just fart noises, obviously.
There's a little speaker on the side of it. Oh my God, let's relive my childhood. I want that, and I want the Blackstone magic kit that got me into magic.
Can you still do
Got you out of it, women?
Stand-up comedy. Like a real Steve Martin kind of guy.
Can you still do any magic tricks?
Sure.
Cool. Which ones?
Not right now, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do a few card tricks and like some stupid tricks. You guys ever get like mad as a kid?
I was so bad at stuff like that.
I would take out books from the library and then just like do it for my folks or my little brother. And I think I use them as a teacher, some tricks they were like, this guy's a punk, and then I do a magic trick and they're like, this guy's the best.
That's great. You taught young kids, right?
K through 8. Yeah, I was a guidance counselor. Sure.
You were a guidance counselor?
Yeah, youth mentor in Cambridge. Yeah. And I can juggle as well, not just rap.
Do you have anything to juggle nearby?
I learned how to juggle when I didn't make the tennis team.
That's smart.
Not only did I not make the team wanted me to be the manager to come on the road with them and entertain everybody because I was so funny. And I was like, oh, well, would I eventually get to play? And they were like, no. And here's another sad story. I auditioned to be, no, see, that's how you know I'm not a sports guy, but I'm like, auditioned. In the tryouts for tennis, I wore jeans every time because I was a punk kid and I hated how my legs looked because I was so scrawny. And I kicked jeans on every tryout to Brookline High School tennis.
Still play tennis?
I can, yeah. I still have a racket too. Yeah.
We should play sometime. It's a great socially distanced game.
Oh, that's true. It is. Yeah, I've got good reach because I'm enormous.
Yeah, I'm bad at it.
I have a great serve, but if you want me to run around the court, you got me. I have this mouthwash because I need gum surgery next month. Things are going great. And so anyway, this mouthwash, you're not supposed to really eat like 2 hours after because it changes the taste. So the other day, total COVID scare when I had pita and hummus. And I was like, this pita and hummus is tasteless. And I was like, wait, pita and hummus is just tasteless. So I was bugging out, right? Not realizing it was the mouthwash, but I saved myself because I ate a cough drop and it was nice.
Saved it.
Thank you. Yeah, gum surgery next month. Talk to me then.
Do you need a ride?
I need some money.
And Dan Crohn's album, It's Enough Already. Buy it so he can have a new mouth.
Let's go deep into this. A bone graft. Do you know what that is?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So it's not as bad as it sounds, but actually a year ago I had a skin graft, which is much worse. Skin graft is where they cut a portion of the roof of your mouth off and transplant it to your gums and it becomes your new gum. It's actually quite fascinating.
Yeah. But also nightmarish.
Nightmare because I was supposed to take 2 weeks off of not doing anything. And I think I did like 15 shows. I'm nuts. So that was the worst. But so bone graft isn't as bad, but they take the bone from a cadaver.
Wow. That's cool.
Dead man's tooth coming up.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm excited. No, I'm not excited. But the guy was like, I go, how is this like a skin graft? He goes, oh, it's nothing like that. And I go, oh, great. So pretty easy. And also I can get it done because I'm not doing anything. So the recovery will be easy.
Yeah. You're not going to be doubling up at the Wilbur and Motley's.
triple up Zoom. Yeah, what an asshole. Why would I even do that? Like, why would I tell them? What shouldn't I have just like, hey, Motley's kind of a big deal? I don't know what I was thinking. This is like 2010, maybe. I forgot what year it was. I went from like 1,000-person show to like 22.
I would have done the same thing. Honestly, I'm not doing this job. I don't think any of us, besides maybe Rob, but none of us are doing it to host a show.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair.
You think though I'd want to like, oh, I should really stay for the whole act and watch him and then say goodnight and say thanks for having me. But no, I was like, no, I gotta go. I gotta jet out.
I always think it's good to try and like let the headliner feel like you're appreciating the opportunity.
Exactly.
Obviously, like I'm the least successful comedian here, so
I opened for Amazing Jonathan.
Oh, he's so funny.
It was like a childhood dream. I watched him as a little kid, and both nights I doubled. Like again, crazy. But I was like, oh, I'll watch like 15 minutes. His opening joke was, how about Dan, huh? He's in the back masturbating with a thimble. And as soon as he did that joke, I took off. I was like, fuck, wait, do your fun things that everybody, why throw me under the bus?
Yeah.
I doubled both nights in Worcester. It actually worked out really nicely. But still, he was such a huge, I watched him, at like 15, 16 years old. I would watch that Comedy Central Presents with him.
Oh, yeah.
And also, I don't masturbate with a thimble.
I mean, I guess it's a joke about how your penis is small. That's the joke, right? But like, still, how would you...
How about it? Like, is there a needle and thread involved? Like he's trying to.
It's not like if you're talking about someone who had a really big dick, you'd be like, yeah, he masturbates with a pint glass.
Or he uses a thimble as a condom.
Oh, that's better.
That would make sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But my temperament is so quick that I was like, oh man, I'm gonna watch him. This is like a childhood dream. And then I was like, fuck this guy, and I just took off.
Yeah, I hate when I don't know you and immediately you're making fun of me in front of 4,500 people.
It was definitely not sold out that night. What about intros? One time, Tom Dustin gave me an intro at the Comedy Connection. He was hammered. It was a hilarious intro. He goes, "This next guy, who loves Jews?" So the crowd was like pretty hyped, and they're like, "Woo!" And he goes, "Give it up for the Jews. This guy's killed a lot of Jews." And he goes, "No, this guy's like one of my best friends, and he's a Jew, so he's my manager." He also had a great line even before that. There's one guy in the front row, and he goes, "How about you, sir? How are you doing? You got a sad face and a sad shirt." He goes, "I got the same shirt. You know how I know that? I have that. Here, I'll take you on tour. This is my audio recorder from 2006, 2007. It's got all the sets from those 2 years. And it's got that set from Tom Dustin. So I recently put batteries in it, and all the sets came back up."
Can you get them off of that?
Probably, I should put it on Facebook or something. I don't know how to do it, but yeah, I don't know how to, yeah, I should pose it to some audio people. It's got like, first time I ever did the Great and Secret show. The first time I ever was at Nick's Comedy Stop. It's crazy. I put batteries in it and they all came up, and I was like, this is fucking crazy.
I have like an iPhone 6, and I recorded all the Great and Secret arrivals, and they all said, "You're not booked tonight."
I just found this.
Who books that?
Angela.
One time I was opening for Charlie Murphy in my drinking days, and I got so drunk the second show Friday, introing, I started to say Eddie, but then quickly said Charlie. Nobody noticed because like I talked too fast anyway, so I was able to recover pretty quickly. But the drunker I got, the more he looked like Eddie.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, it was uncanny, and I'm like, "That's Eddie," and I'm like, "Oh wait, no, it's not. It's Charlie."
Was that intro worse than when I spilled popcorn at a private school?
What's that? Luma Hotchkiss?
It was in Connecticut. I can't remember what. Do you remember what the name of it was, Gary?
I just know it was the popcorn incident.
And who said he always does this? Rob.
He always spills popcorn.
Oh, I remember. And we were like backstage, and it was a weird backstage area. And I think we all got steak dinners. She got us food at some great restaurant, and I was bugging out because I took an edible.
Yeah, we went to a very like quaint New Englandy restaurant, and I was like, "I'm vegan. I can't eat anything." And,
I think I bugged out an edible. I didn't eat anything.
And
yeah,
I ate a whole steak dinner course for 3, and I was like, "This place is great."
Someday we'll get back to that. What was that? I don't even know.
that show was great. It was a very prestigious prep school, and we get there and we're kind of walking around looking for where we're supposed to go, and we find this theater, and we're like, it's a beautiful theater. And we're like, wouldn't it be crazy if this is where the show was? This nice theater. And then the person came to meet us, and we're like, "Is this where the show's going to be?" And he was like, "Oh, no. We're going to put you nice." And then they brought us to a theater that was like that first theater was the nicest theater I've ever seen.
Right.
And the theater we actually performed in was nicer than I could have imagined.
Was that with a huge panoramic view of like mountain? Yeah.
And perfect acoustics. And they said, if you could try not to touch the new piano, it cost us $100,000. I was like, I'm gonna put my drink on it. I always put my drink on pianos. I need to. And they were like, what?
I didn't touch the piano. Dan didn't touch the piano, but Gary got out there and he spilled this huge popcorn all over the piano.
He made it better.
He always spills popcorn.
Every gig we go to.
What did they hand me? I don't even remember. I can't.
Well,
We might have been
I
starving.
was so
and we asked-
embarrassed that I was like,
think-
we need to drive as fast as we can.
yeah.
I think we were hungry, and they were like, "We can get you popcorn."
It was a circus themed day that they were doing, and we were just
Oh, right.
and
Yeah.
so they had a popcorn, like a big popcorn maker. I love popcorn. So we got like big things of popcorn, and we were going down into the theater, and they were like, "Oh, can you not bring your popcorn down just because we don't allow any food in the theater?" And we're like, "Sure." And like I put my popcorn down, and Gary went to put his down and then tripped, and it just spilled it all down the stairs of the theater.
It was like I had shaken it like in every direction.
Yeah, it went everywhere.
He always does this.
Oh, private high schools. I don't know how I fell into that racket, but
Oh man, it's so great. I love it.
It was a good time. We had a lot of fun. This
did-
was a lot of fun. Any questions, Dan?
I was going to pose something to the audience of conflicting of feelings of indoor shows. How do we feel about that? It might be too heavy.
Yeah, how do we do indoor shows? Man, it's gonna be a while. I guess once everyone's vaccinated, it'll maybe. I don't know.
Okay, here's a good follow-up though. So once you're vaccinated, great, but do you still feel okay with putting a group of people in a room?
No, but I'm like gonna be the last person to get vaccinated because I'm, it's like people who are over 65, then it's like people who have like comorbidities, and then way down the list is, people like me, Adonises.
Right. Shouldn't we wait for more herd immunity?
I don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, I think that it's gonna take forever before we're back to. It's gonna be like another year, I think.
I think the fall, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, again, keep in mind, there's indoor shows happening consistently through the entire pandemic.
Oh man,
It's like how long can a hoax last? That's the thing.
I just saw like a club in Rhode Island just opened, and I'm like, man, Rhode Island is like at the worst numbers in New England. I can't believe that
there's no rules down there.
Brian Bowden opening for Derek Furtado, guaranteed. That's what
some comedy shows, you have to prove vaccination upon entry.
That makes sense though.
Yes.
Somebody said Live Nation was going to do that, which is the biggest ticket company in the country. Is that right?
Probably. They own like 95% of all the billboards in the United States.
Wow. So right, you're going to have to show that card to go see a show, which I guess would make sense, but it just seems like what the hell what kind of world are we living in?
It's very weird.
I like Zoom, but I know the light is at the end of the tunnel, because in March I am not going to renew my Zoom Pro account. I've had it.
Are you teaching online? You're teaching stand-up comedy, but for the prestigious Massachusetts Institute of Technology, yes?
That is correct. We just finished this week, actually.
Fantastic. Congratulations. Do you teach online?
I've been teaching via Zoom, and we have our grad show coming up in a couple of weeks. It's been an amazing opportunity to give these kids something to do, because they're all freshmen pretty much, and their year has been just ripped away from them. Can you imagine it's your first year as an independent person, and nope, you got to live with your parents via Zoom and go to school. Not only live with your parents, but like quarantine with your parents.
Man, I've had like so many like good years already, and I still hate this. But if I had was just about to have my, have my freedom, and then all of a sudden it's like, nah.
It's been the same, but it's like a mental health grant that allows fun activities for the kids.
Really. There's nothing better for mental health than stand-up comedy.
Great.
Well, you know what it is? It's not really the grad show that's fun. It's really the workshopping.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a writer's room.
Yes, exactly. It's basically what we're doing here. And, a lot of it's like, hey, you should say this there, or hey, you shouldn't say that there, or say this, and just getting them confidence, and also telling them, like, who gives a shit? Like, you can't fail the class. Let's just have fun. Super incredible opportunity. I mean, I've been very, very lucky.
If you're interested in checking out Dan's comedy, It's Enough Already, fantastic album. And if you want to take his class, just get into MIT.
It'd be very easy.
It's a new school, but it's good.
Yeah.
I'll close with this.
Mm-hmm.
Ready?
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard this incredible news story the last couple of weeks. A very famous MIT professor was arrested on federal grant fraud. His name was this summer, my class was open to faculty and staff, and he was one of my students.
Whoa. Was he funny?
Incredibly funny, incredibly popular, which I didn't realize.
Yeah.
He has like a following, world-renowned physicist, like unbelievable, right? I put him second to last on the showcase, which was a mistake. I should have put him last, because as soon as the set was over, we lost 20 people out of the Zoom.
That's crazy.
And the poor person who had to go at the end was like, hey! But yeah, check it out. MIT National. I mean, should I be even talking about this? Who knows? Who cares?
Update us when you testify in the trial of, his joke writing skills didn't seem suspect at all. His material was original.
I didn't even think of that, Gary. That's hilarious. But yeah, true. That came out like 2 weeks ago. And I was like, that guy, he was incredible. What a nice guy. He was stealing my jokes to China.
What if he translated all your jokes to
I'm 6'4", Jewish.
This was a great time.
Yeah,
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, get a round of applause for all of our guests. Thank you so much.
Dan Crohn, Carrie Coughlin, band leader Angela Sawyer, the late great Brian Vokey, who has recently deceased. Please, Rob Creany, the great haired man, Silver Conan, with his do. It is kind of, here it is. Like us, follow us, subscribe. Look for our podcast coming up. Coleman O'Brien from the Game Leader. Angela Sawyer with fire.
Home host to home host.
That's so good. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
I like that movie.
I disagree, Gary.